iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Julie Halston, welcome to iHeartRadio Broadway.
Well, I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm okay too. I'm also the recipient of my second shot.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm now fully vaccinated. I kind of feel like a cat at the vet, but I'm very excited. I really am.
I cannot wait to get mine. The first round, I am ready to live a full vaccinated life in New York City.
Me too. And yay, New York City. Yay. Exactly. Yeah.
So we are coming up on the year-long anniversary, the very first anniversary of this whole entire pandemic we're living in, the Broadway shutdown. So how are you doing right now as we kind of march forward with that year anniversary?
Well, you know what was interesting? Last year on February 24th, we honored Daryl Roth, the wonderful theater producer, at the Hotel Edison Ballroom at our annual Broadway Belts. It was our 10th anniversary. Bernadette Peters was our special guest star. And it was a huge event, you know, like 450 people. We raised over $400,000. It was amazing. And it was the last big Broadway fundraiser. Everything shut down after that. And so this year we were discussing, well, gee, we can't do a live event. And certainly for people who have lung issues, which is what pulmonary fibrosis is all about. So we decided to do a virtual event, like many people in the world are doing virtual events. But what was so interesting is that Jim Caruso from Jim Caruso's Cast Party, he was the one who said to me, if anyone should have a talk show on a virtual platform, it's you. And I was like, no. And he was like, Julie, you love to talk and you know everyone. And you know everyone on Broadway. And you have a million stories. So we started this YouTube web series with Ruby Lochnar as our tech director. And of course, she's 21. I mean, we hate her. Because she's running the joint. But we have had the most fantastic guests. You know, Andrew Reynolds, Bill Irwin, Louis Black, Mario Cantone, Mary Lou Henner. I mean, just incredible guests. And the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation said, hey, why don't we use your platform to do our Broadway Belts event?
So before we talk about Broadway Belts, let's talk about Virtual Halston, because it took off during quarantine. Like you said, you've had the most amazing guests, and it's just basically an hour-long chat with your friends and Broadway's best and biggest stars. But I'm curious, is there someone so far that has not been on the show that you're dying to have on the show?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, believe it or not, I was afraid to ask my friend, and he is my friend, I was afraid to ask Nathan Lane. He asked me to be on the show. So he is going to be on the show at the very end of February. We're working out particulars now. I would love to have Andrea Martin. So she's on my checklist. So far, I have to say, everyone has said yes. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to have Michelle Obama. Can we get Michelle Obama?
Michelle Obama would be good.
Yeah, that would be good. All right, I'll work on that. And here's the other thing. Michelle Obama actually has a relationship to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation because the great theater producer, Margot Lyon, who produced Hairspray and who I worked for as an actress, she passed away from pulmonary fibrosis. And I got to know Margot in such a very special way. And she and Ralph, my late husband, and Margot, we all were so bonded with this. And she was also very generous. Mm-hmm. And she worked in the Obama administration. So when we had a memorial service for Margot, who actually spoke at the service on a filmed segment, but Michelle Obama. So in a way, I feel like very connected to Michelle Obama for many reasons. But yeah, and what's great is that Broadway Belts for PFF. What I love so much about the Broadway community is they step it up every time. You know, Andrew Reynolds has performed so many times for so many great causes. He's always there for me. Darlene Love, Darlene Love. And what's great is that it's a little bit of a Hairspray reunion because Darlene Love and Andrew and I all did Hairspray together. Max von Essen is a neighbor and a friend. He has performed on Virtual Halston, but he's also going to perform for Broadway Belts. Christine Ebersol, she wanted in. She was like, oh no, I want in. I'm sending in Mike.
I feel like during this whole entire year, it truly, I think the best thing that happens with Broadway is whenever there is any sort of national emergency, New York City emergency, our community stops what they're doing and they 100% jump in and say, whatever I can do, I'm going to do. And it's not just the pandemic. I think the same thing happened with 9/11, the various things that have happened throughout, the last 50 years or so. Broadway's just always there, and they're there to support their friends too.
They really are. And here's the other thing. Broadway people are truly some of the most talented human beings on the planet Earth. You know, they really are. I mean, when you talk about like a voice like Christine Ebersol, or, a voice like Max von Essen, or Darlene Love, who is a rock and roll legend, their voices are inspirational. Their talents are enormous. And that is something that they have that most people just don't have, and so they want to give their God-given gifts to the cause and to the community. And I'm so grateful. I also think too, Sarah Jane, my late husband was the anchorman at 1010 Wins for, over almost 20 years. People knew him. He worked with Howard Stern at Sirius. He was a real, very known New York legendary broadcaster. And I think people really felt terrible when he got very sick. So I also think, again, they sort of stepped it up and it's like, we're doing this for Ralph. But
and that's how this whole thing started with Broadway Belts, correct?
Yes. And it was through Michael Kushwara, who was a friend of ours who passed away from the disease. And then my husband got the disease. And here's the thing. One of the reasons we're so active in trying to spread awareness is he thought he had asthma for years. And that's one of the problems. Everyone goes, oh yeah, I have asthma, because they have a dry cough or they have shortness of breath. And so many doctors misdiagnose it as asthma. And by the time they find out they have pulmonary fibrosis, it's really kind of too late to make them more comfortable or to give them the oxygen they need. So we're sort of asking people, when they think they have one thing, make sure you get a high resolution X-ray to see if that is what it is. Because right now, 200,000 people a year are living with pulmonary fibrosis, and 50,000 people, they pass away from the disease. It's really a terrible disease, and there's no known cure. And sometimes there's no known cause. Mm-hmm. So that's even more frustrating.
Right.
They never knew the cause of Ralph's IPF. It's called IPF, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, idiopathic meaning no known cause. And sometimes they think it's a genetic situation. Sometimes they think it might be an environmental situation. We have no idea, but whatever it is, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. He was so lucky, he got a lung transplant in 2010 on our 18th wedding anniversary, which was startling and so amazing. Talk about a miracle. And he was able to go back to work for Howard Stern. And he walked his daughter, Lindsay, down the aisle, and he saw the birth of great grandchildren. And we traveled all over the world. There we were in the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, and he had his new lung, but many people are not that lucky, and it's a lot of work. So we do Broadway belts for PFF. We get the best of Broadway, and I got to tell you, it's a great show. That's the other thing. It's a fantastic show. And this year, because we're going to be on Virtual Halston, the platform I do with Jim Caruso, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Well, and I will say, before we move on to who the lineup is, you've already teased out a couple names. It's Friday, March 12th at 7 p.m. The event is free, and it's going to be on the PFF YouTube and Facebook channels. Am I correct?
Correct. And for those of you who out there who are Virtual Halston aficionados, you can also go to our regular platforms. You can go to Cast Party Network. You can go on my Facebook page. You can go on Jim Caruso's Facebook page. But yes, we have like 8 different platforms that you can access. But for people in the pulmonary fibrosis community, yes, it will be on their page and their YouTube situation.
And I want to get it right, so I'm pulling up the list, but the list of confirmed performers: Annalie Ashford, who we all know and love, Robert Crichton, Christine Ebersol, Darlene Love, Andrew Reynolds, Max von Essen, Jim Caruso. Am I missing anybody?
No, right now but we have a little surprise. We have a finale that we're working on.
Okay.
And let's just say, I think one of the Elphabas might be involved.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm just going to give you a little tease, and it may involve a lot of other people.
Okay.
And
one of many Elphabas, so
one of many Elphabas.
That could be a number of lovely women.
That's right. That's right. So we're very excited. And again, it just is a perfect blending of a fun-filled night. And of course, we are going to have people, if they want to donate, they certainly can. And we'll have a text to give situation. But the event is free. They can go on Broadway Belts for PFF.org. That's Broadway Belts for PFF.org. And they just have to register.
And we'll put a link in the bottom of this interview so people know.
That would be great. That would be great.
The other thing,
Broadway Belts for PFF.org. And then they just can register and they can watch it. And it's just going to be, and it's not even going to be that long a show. It's going to be like 80 minutes maybe. And we kind of feel like we're going to get the best of everything. And we'll also have the Ralph Howard Legacy Award.
That's something that I want to touch upon, is that your late husband, there is a legacy award that's named after him. So can you tell us a little bit about who will be receiving that award this year?
Well, the Ralph Howard Legacy Award started after Ralph had passed away. And, you know, he was so obsessed about local news, local events, community events. Believe me, I went to community board meetings and city council. You know, he loved New York City so much, and he loved local things. And God help you if you did not recycle. He was very involved with being involved with community and activism and citizenship. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to do the Ralph Howard Legacy Award. And each year we give it to someone who has not only been very generous to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, but someone who also embodies those qualities. And we've given it to Doug and Gay Lane, who are very dear friends of mine who have been exceedingly generous to the PFF and very helpful to me personally with Ralph. Daryl Roth, again, people who are very involved with their community. Right. So this year, Lori Chandler, who is also a recipient of a transplant, who also had the disease, and she has become the most extraordinary patient advocate. And whenever somebody really is feeling like lost, they don't know what to do, they don't have the right information, she actually connects doctors, hospitals, patients. She really knows how to talk to patients because it's a very frightening situation. Really? And people feel very hopeless, but there is hope, and people can live quite a longer time than they used to be able to. So this year, we're going to give it to Lori, who has gone through so much herself and still is out there, spreading the word and really helping get people the treatments they need. So I think it's a very apt person.
Well, and I know that every year this is an event that people look forward to, not just because of the message of what you're trying to convey, but because you're involved and you are such a shining star in our community and people adore you. So I'm so thankful and happy for you that this is happening again in the virtual space this year, that you were able to do an 11th anniversary and not have to take a year off. So I applaud you for your tenacity for making this happen in the virtual space, because I think having these moments of clarity and camaraderie and being able to just come together in an 80 to 90 minute session is just something we're all just looking forward to every single week.
I think so too. And as I said to the gang, I said, look, usually at this time we're trying to pick, tablecloths and napkins and centerpieces. Now we can concentrate on our message and our talent. And, it's the honor of my life to be part of the Broadway community. I am always stunned that I'm known. I'm always so surprised when people say, "Oh, Julie Halston." I'm like, "Wait, who's that? Who's Julie Halston?" I love being part of this community. Again, that's another one of my life missions, to always be part of this community and to always be raising money for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation.
And if there's one thing about PFF that you want people to know about, what is that one thing that you want people to know about this disease?
There's hope. There's hope. When you get the diagnosis of pulmonary fibrosis, people tend to become very depressed because ultimately there is no cure. Mm-hmm. But we are making amazing strides. There are now drugs that slow the progression of the disease down considerably. We are getting oxygen to people. It helps them get through their days and nights. There is hope, and they are making great progress. And many more drug companies are on board now. Used to be just a few. Mm-hmm. Now, because they are really learning so much more about the disease, and because they have seen, and look, COVID-19 has a terrible effect on the lungs. So a lot of companies are getting on board, and Europe is getting on board. It's becoming a global effort, just like we're finding with COVID-19. So again, I say community, and there's hope. And if ever there was a community to do something for pulmonary fibrosis, it's the Broadway community.
Absolutely. Again, we try and teach in theater education that theater teaches how to become an empathetic person. And that is such a standard for our community, is we know how empathetic it is to be attached to causes. So yes. I want to plug this again, that Broadway Belts for PFF is going to be on Friday, March 12th at 7 p.m. PFF's YouTube, Facebook page. And then do you want to list them off again, where else that they can watch?
Cast Party Network, or my Facebook page, Julie Halston, Jim Caruso's Facebook page, or the Birdland Facebook page. So that's another option for them. So they really have a lot of options. It's going to be great. And Jim and I are going to have fun. And we even got Brian Whitehill, who did the graphics for Virtual Halston. He's made a special graphic for Virtual Halston meeting Broadway Belts. It's so fun. We're going to have a lot of laughs, but we're also we're going to laugh, and we're going to cry, and we're going to raise money for Broadway, for PFF.
I guarantee you it'll be such an amazing night. And also make sure you tune in to Virtual Halston. I guarantee you every week you will laugh your butt off and have an amazing hour-long just kiki with your friends on Virtual Halston. So please watch. I promise you, you will not go wrong with Virtual Halston.
Thank you so much. We're having a blast. We really are. And I'm so happy for you, Sarah Jane. It's great.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining us today. You are one of my favorite Broadway people. So I'm so thrilled that you could join us today.
It is all my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And I love iHeartRadio.
Thank you.
All right.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.